This is the Voice of Turkey's English language transmission, broadcasting from Ankara in the 19-meter band between 12:30 and 13:30 UTC on 15,450 kHz to Europe. You can listen to us over the Turksat 3A and 4A satellites and on the internet at www.trt.net.tr through the Voice of Turkey link. Our email address is englishdesk@trt.net.tr. Following the news and the review of the Turkish press, the Voice of Turkey will present weekly analysis, Healing Spring, and Did You Know That? But first, let's start with the news. Protests continue in Iran. In the demonstrations that started after a 22-year-old woman was killed in police custody continue as the death toll rises to 26. The demonstrations that started after Mahsa Amini, who after being detained by the Irshad patrols on September 13th in the capital Tehran and was first comatized and that died on September 16th, spread to many provinces, districts and towns of the country. Although the Iranian authorities did not give clear information about the loss of life recorded during the demonstrations, the state television announcer speaking on live broadcast said, "Unfortunately, 26 people, including the police, lost their lives during these events." According to the reports in the country's media, many people, including journalists, political and civil activists, have been detained in recent days. Some of those who were killed are members of the security forces. Most recently, in the semi-official Tesnim news agency, announced that an officer died during the events in the city of Kocham in the province of Rezevi, Khorasan. Iranian government, on the other hand, issued a statement describing the demonstrations as a conspiracy of the enemies and saying the armed forces are ready to fight the various conspiracies of the enemies, and the enemies will never be allowed to take advantage of this situation. Death toll in migrant boat tragedy rises to 53. The number of people who were killed after a boat carrying irregular migrants capsized off the coast of Syria rose to 53. Lebanese Transport Minister Ali Hamie briefed press members about the tragedy that occurred off the coast of Tartus province in western Syria. Minister Hamie said search and rescue teams have found the bodies of 53 people and rescued 19 others so far. Search and rescue work is still underway to find the missing, he also said. Lebanese news reports said Thursday that a migrant boat that set off from the northeastern city of Tripoli capsized shortly after. Aside from Lebanese nationals, there were also Palestinians and Syrians on board the boat, it was also reported. And Armenian forces opened fire on Azerbaijan positions along the border. Armenian forces opened fire on Azerbaijan's positions, and the Azerbaijani Defense Ministry said on Friday that an Armenian force attacked 3 border regions. Starting from 11:45 p.m. on September 27th to 8:30 a.m. on September 23rd, the Armenian armed forces units from the positions in the direction of the Çınarlı settlements of Toğuzkale region and Yukarı Sorca, Güneşli and Zerkan settlements of Basargeçer region in the Azerbaijani-Armenian state border had attacked using various caliber weapons, the ministry said. Earlier this week, Baku accused Yerevan of staging provocations along the shared border by firing mortars and grenades at its forces. Fighting between the two sides erupted earlier this month in clashes that left almost 200 soldiers dead, which was the bloodiest confrontations since a 6-week war between the two countries in 2020. The fighting is linked to decades of hostilities over control of the Karabakh region, which is internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, but in 1991 was illegally occupied by the Armenian military. In 2020, clashes erupted between the sides, and during the 44-day-long conflict, Azerbaijan liberated several cities and around 300 settlements and villages that Armenia had occupied for almost 30 years. The fighting ended with a Russian-brokered agreement on November 10, 2020, which was seen as a victory for Azerbaijan and a defeat for Armenia. However, the ceasefire has been broken several times since then. Azerbaijan says that Armenia is not ready to accept delimiting borders as well as the reality following the 2020 war. UN thanks Turkey. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres thanked Turkey for the role it played in exchanging more than 200 prisoners of war between Ukraine and Russia. Speaking at the UN Security Council's Foreign Ministers meeting, Antonio Guterres said that the war between Ukraine and Russia does not seem likely to end soon. Labeling Russian President Vladimir Putin's announcement of mobilization dangerous and disturbing, Guterres said, with this step, the parties have moved away from peace and there appeared a looming danger of more blood spilling. Guterres said, the meaningless war has the potential to cause great harm to Ukraine and to the entire world. On the other hand, calling plans for a referendum in eastern parts of Ukraine worrying, Guterres said, annexing parts of another country by force is a breach of international law and the Charter of the United Nations. While thanking Turkey for its mediation between the warring parties for prisoner exchange, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also reminded that Turkey was also the supporter of the grain deal between Ukraine and Russia, which allowed for the exports of 4.3 million tons of grain from Ukraine into 29 countries, including Azerbaijan and Yemen.